Hi, in this video we do a photo critique and we look at the images of a 16-year-old photographer. Hi, I'm Adam and welcome to First Man Photography, the channel that will help you take your photography to the next level. If you haven't done so already, head over to firstmanphotography.com, fill in your details to join the email list, and I'll send you a free copy of the ebook on how to capture perfect exposure every time. Okay, let's get into this. I was contacted by Philipp, who is a 16-year-old photographer living in Hungary. He said that he's been shooting for around 2 months since he got his DSLR camera. That's really not very long, so I'm really proud of him for even asking for this critique, because it's really shown that he's interested in learning, getting feedback and improving his images. He admits that he's new to photography and he said that he hopes that I see something good in his images. Well, Philip, let's get into the computer and have a look. Okay, so we go straight into Safari and here we have the first picture. But before I start talking about that, let's just have a look at some of the EXIF information to see what camera Philip is using. And like I said, it's his first DSLR and he's gone for the Nikon D3300. And as we can see, he's got the 18-55 kit lens attached to that, which has an aperture of f3.5 to 5.6. The key to a good critique is just for it to be constructive and to be relevant to the person that you're critiquing. So I'm not going to be as critical to Philip, who's 16 years old and been shooting for 2 months, as I might be to someone in their mid-30s like me who's been shooting for many, many years. It's about providing value to them, and hopefully through that it will provide some value to you as well. And everyone will leave having learned a little something from each other. So the first image, Philip is clearly a man after my own heart because he's gone straight in with the long exposure, which I love. He's getting deep into the technical aspects of photography straight away, and he's clearly a fan of long exposure. So we've gone for this stream and it is a 13-second exposure at f8. And as you can see, he's saying he's using the 10-stop ND filter. Again, love the fact he's using that so early on. He's setting his stall out. He knows what he wants and he's gone for it. And he's produced a fairly good image here. I like the composition of the stream. It's not the most attractive thing to shoot in the world, but it's well shot. It's well exposed. I think you could maybe add a little bit more contrast, raise your shadows a little bit. I don't know what post-processing system that Philip is using, but I'd boost the shadows a little bit around this area and then just increase the contrast and saturation a little bit. And I think it could really pick that image up. So on to the next one. Okay, I have looked at this image already and it's very striking as soon as you look at it, and I do like it. I don't totally understand what's going on though, if I'm honest. He says it's a long exposure, again with that 10-stop ND filter, again with the same camera, f8 at 52mm. I don't know what sort of processing has gone on here, because you can see these little sort of, it looks like it's gone wrong a little bit here and here and here. I don't know if he's combined images or used some tools in Photoshop or something to create these swirls, because they don't look like something that would occur naturally unless he's running around on top of this balcony that seems to be up here. I don't know what's going on with that. Philip, please do let me know, because it's interesting. Like I say, it's a very striking image. One thing I would do to try and improve this a little bit is just to change your composition slightly to line up a little bit with the rule of thirds, because you've got this quite miserable fountain actually right in the middle, and I think that I think you could have more impact as your sort of foreground interest, and then have your main subject as this pipe or small waterfall here, and you could possibly raise your image up a little bit to see some of this fence which is reflected in the water, but to see it in real life as well. But a little composition somewhere around sort of this area, if we draw the composition in here, have that fountain on the rule of thirds, and something a little bit like that you might just find that lifts the image a little bit and has more natural flow from front to back. But like I say, striking image, like it. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so here we have a wooden bridge, as Philip says. Again, this is a f8, 18mm, slightly wider angle. It's well composed. I like it. He's kind of, I don't know whether it's naturally or he's done a bit of research on YouTube, but he's getting a nice lead-in line. All these lines from here, 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 and this main plank going through the middle of the shot is dragging all your attention into this area, and that's good use of leading lines. However, you've then got this little bit here, the way all your attention is being dragged to, it's then out of focus. So this can work sometimes, but you need to have a bit more interest in your foreground. As soon as I saw it, I thought I'd love to see something just here on this plank. I don't know whether it would be possible, but you could turn it into a bit more of a creative image and have maybe just a little toy sat on here as well and have that in focus, and then your attention would be still drawn behind that as well. There's lots of things you could do, just a little bug, something like that, and get it really close as you can. And there's lots you could just add that interest in the foreground here, because that's where your area of focus is. Otherwise, it might be worth trying to shift your focus or increase your aperture so you get everything in focus. But I do like it. I don't know whether he's actually done some post-processing here, because at f8, I'd expect to see more of the image in focus. But like I say, lots you can do with that image. Not bad. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so Philipp says this is his first star trail. And I don't know if this is a series of images. I think it's just one image, actually. Star trails are often built up of various images combined in Photoshop. And there's not a lot of interest in the shot, obviously, other than the stars. But it's his first one. It looks solid. There's lots of... He's obviously got the camera nice and still. Picked up that star trail. There's not a lot to it, but he's obviously just practicing. He's decided to share that. And you've got to start somewhere. And this is not a bad start. And he's got those star trails going. So on to the next one. And again, it's another star trail. Now I much prefer this composition because you've got a bit more foreground interest in terms of this temple or whatever it is. Like I said, he lives in Hungary. I don't know much about Hungarian culture, which I'm a bit ashamed of, but this is certainly an interesting building, and he has the star trails, a small star trail going on behind it. I like it. It's a good image, but you could just lift it so well with just adding a little bit of torchlight whilst you're shooting that long exposure to the front of this building. So you set your exposure going, whip out your torch or the light on your phone or even a flash that you have off the camera. It doesn't need to be connected to the camera even. And then just paint in some light onto this building, and that will just add a bit more light onto this building, and then you'd have that lit. The sky would still be exposed right, and it could really add some extra interest to that image. Something to try in the future. I'm sure you can go back there and try that, Philip. Just one to think about. On to the next one. Okay, he's called this a macro spider. We are still with the kit lens at 55mm, so right in as far as you can go. 1/13 of a second. Are you hand holding this? You've done well if you are, or it might be on a tripod. It doesn't look like true macro. You can get in much closer than that, I think, with that kit lens, and probably focus much closer in. So when you shoot in macro, you want to have used the minimum focus distance that lens will achieve. So get right in close as that camera will focus, and then you'd have that spider much bigger in your image with a composition just a little bit like that. You can also, if you check out my budget macro video, you can also get a reversing ring that you can attach to the front of that kit lens, take it off, and then put it back onto the camera the opposite way around, and it then becomes an extremely magnified macro lens. Something to try. It's not perfect, but it's good to experiment with, and you can really decide if you're into macro photography, and then you can decide whether you want to invest in more macro equipment. Okay, on to the next one. And we have a mallow flower with the sunset in the background. I love the idea here, Philip. You've really got a creative eye. You've decided to shoot this at the sunset. You've blown all of this bit out of focus here, which is nice, and you've got the focus nicely on this flower. You could probably arrange it a little bit so you get your sun kind of in this area here, and that would lift the image a little bit and add a bit more of a story to that image. But you've shot it nicely. You've got the flower in nice focus. Bit of out of focus flower here, which adds to it all for me. The thing is with this one, if you were going to improve it, I wouldn't use that onboard flash, which you've clearly used here. And if we look down here, you can say, yes, the flash has fired, and it just, the whole image is screaming that the flash has gone off. It's lit this flower here, and you've got all these harsh shadows all over the image here, which kind of detracts from it a little bit. I would be more inclined, if you don't have an off-camera flash or a proper speed light flash gun, then just try boosting your ISO. I think you will get much nicer results with high ISO. Don't be afraid of pushing that ISO. Lots of things you can do to play around with the exposure on this one, but I just wouldn't use that onboard flash because it really gives this harsh light to the image like it has done here. Again, something to think about, something to work on, but the composition is good, as I said, and you've really clearly got a creative eye. On to the next one. It's a nice image. You've got this is that the same temple or is that a different one? Again, like this sort of kind of religious looking building here, which is casting an excellent silhouette against that sunset in the background. You probably could have waited a little bit later, get that sun a little bit lower, and you might get a bit more colour in the sky, and then you wouldn't have to underexpose as much as you have done here. But a nice image, well composed. I love the way you've framed your sun in between these two trees. There's lots going on. There's lots going right for me in this image. So yeah, nice try, and just keep working on it, and you're going to just find that it gets, although this is good, you'll find that you get better and better and better. I like the birds that have been caught as well. That adds a little something else to the image as well. Good work. On to the next one. So clearly this image already shows that Philipp's making great progress, because you're going from that first star trail that we saw up to the second one with that sort of temple in it, and then to this one, and a really nice image. And he's even managed to get a bit more exposure in the trees here as well, which is adding that foreground interest. It's really important with star trails to have some foreground interest, just to provide a bit of context as to where you are and what you're looking at, and it just makes your star trail shots much nicer. He's gone for stars around Polaris. Polaris is the North Star, and that's where all the other stars rotate around. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, nice image, really like it. I don't know if that's a plane or something like that's gone across, but yeah, great image. Happy with that. Good work. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at the album as a whole, and we've got 9 photos there. So go ahead and give Philipp a little bit of love and a little bit of support. Follow him on Flickr, on his Instagram, and let him know what you think of his work. I think Philipp's really got a great start to his photography career there. I'm really impressed with the images he's coming up with already, because even where the image is not perfect like this one, there's clearly a creative eye there, and there's lots of room for improvement, and he's young, so he's got time. But the start he's got is excellent. I love what he's doing. I love the fact he's reached out for some critique externally from people that he doesn't know, and that's only going to go and benefit him further on as his photography journey increases. Great work, Philipp. I love what you're doing. Well done. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. If you would like me to take a look at some of your photos, put 10 of your very best into an album on Flickr, and then paste the link to that album into the form on my website, which you can find via the photo critique link on the front page. Fill in the rest of your details as well so I can get in touch with you, and then I'll get round eventually to doing a critique on your pictures. There are a lot coming in now though, and the interest has been high, so please don't be disappointed if it takes a little while to get round to doing yours. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to the channel, where there's new videos going up every Wednesday and every Sunday, and I would love it if you came along for the ride. I'll see you on another video very soon. I'm Adam. This is First Man Photography, out.